young performer, good writer, producer.
Taylor Swift.
Aretha Franklin's rise to fame wasn't without its challenges. In a music industry dominated by competition, rivalries were inevitable, but one rivalry, in particular, stood out, one that went beyond the charts and deep into personal territory. For years, rumors swirled about Aretha's strained relationship with another legendary figure. Today, we uncover the shocking truth as Aretha Franklin finally confessed why she harbored a deep resentment toward someone who played a significant role in her life. Before we dive into the details, here's a question for you. Who do you think Aretha Franklin might have had these intense feelings toward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And now, let's rewind to her early life and career to see why she harbors this one. Aretha Louise Franklin, sometimes referred to as the Queen of Soul, was an American singer, songwriter, and pianist who left an everlasting influence on the history of music. The brilliance that Aretha possessed was obvious even at an early age. The New Bethel Baptist Church, where her father, C.L. Franklin, served as a preacher, was the place where she began her career as a gospel singer. She had already secured her first recording contract with Columbia Records by the time she turned 18 years old. On the other hand, her career did not begin to experience significant growth until she signed with Atlantic Records in the year 1966. Aretha Franklin collaborated with Atlantic Records to record a string of legendary albums, including I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, Lady Soul, which caused her to stand out in the world of music. Respect, Chain of Fools, and Think are just a few of her songs that have become anthems of self-empowerment and resilience, and they have gained an international following. Aretha gained a great deal of recognition and prizes in addition to her achievement at the top of the charts. In addition, she has been awarded the National Medal of Arts, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a posthumous special commendation from the Pulitzer Prize jury in recognition of her contributions to the music and culture of the United States. Aside from her musical career, Aretha featured in the film The Blues Brothers, which was released in 1980, demonstrating her aptitude in areas other than singing. However, Aretha was much more than a mere vocalist. In addition to having a powerful personality, she was a force of nature. The fact that she was known for being open and honest meant that she did not hesitate to voice her ideas, which occasionally resulted in notable conflicts with other musicians. Let us have a look at them, shall we? This is the Queen of Soul against the long-standing rivalry between the Queen of Rock and Roll. Who is the Queen of Rock and Roll? Despite the fact that we are aware of who she was as the Queen of Soul, without a doubt, Tina Turner is the one. These two were two of the most famous personalities in the history of music. Both of these women were well known for their distinctive styles, as well as their tremendous vocals and outstanding stage presence. However, they were also engaged in a competition that lasted for several decades. You have to understand that Aretha Franklin was a musical genius who possessed a voice that was capable of reaching celestial heights. It was not only that she was a wonderful vocalist, she had a good sense of humor and was not hesitant to say what was on her mind. Her followers adored her not only for her singing but also for the fearless manner in which she carried herself. She had a propensity for doing things that were a little bit shady with other people in the profession who she did not believe were up to par. Tina Turner, on the other hand, was famous for her scratchy voice and her performances that completely captivated audiences. It was not an easy life for her since she was in a marriage that was violent. She had financial troubles, and she struggled with her health. Tina managed to overcome these obstacles and become one of the most influential musicians of all time. She captivated audiences with her boundless energy and extraordinary talent. So, what exactly was the point of all that conflict? According to reports, the conflict between Aretha and Tina began a significant amount of time prior to the iconic Grammy event that occurred in 2008. Tension was said to exist between them even before Tina Turner divorced Ike Turner in 1978, according to the rumors that circulated at the time. Some reports claimed that Aretha had an affair with Ike, although this was never confirmed. The most publicized moment of their rivalry happened at the 2008 Grammy Awards. Beyoncé introduced Tina Turner on stage by calling her the Queen. Aretha, watching from home, didn't take this lightly. She released a statement expressing her displeasure. saying she felt it was a cheap shot for controversy. Aretha seemed to feel that her title as the Queen of Soul was being challenged. So how did Tina respond to this? Tina Turner's response to Aretha's statement was cool and collected. When asked about it by USA Today, she laughed it off, saying, "She's the Queen of Soul, and I'm the Queen of Rock and Roll." Her ego must be so big to think she was the only one. Tina's laid-back response showed she wasn't bothered by the incident. But Aretha wasn't done. She issued another statement saying she always appreciated Tina's work and had quietly supported her after she left Ike. However, she took issue with Tina's comment about her ego, suggesting that Tina was talking about herself. Aretha also added that she was surprised Tina would resort to what she called tacky press to sell tickets, and she expressed disappointment that Tina hadn't lived up to her expectations. Her words were, "I never figured her to resort to tacky press just to sell a few tickets. I understand. And I know that the concert market is down where ticket sales are concerned. I really had put her in a different class. Higher than that, finally. No one has been more gracious or complimentary to their peers than I have. And I am confident and secure enough to do so, unlike some others. I wish Miss Turner all the best, as I always have. Perhaps one day we will meet." So Aretha ended her statement on a somewhat conciliatory note, wishing Tina all the best and expressing hope that they might meet one day. This seemed to suggest that, underneath the rivalry, there was still some level of respect between the two legends. After Aretha Franklin's death in 2018, there were reports that Tina Turner planned a funeral that would eclipse Aretha's. This rumor, whether true or not, suggests a sense of competition between the two. In the end, both Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner had monumental careers that left lasting impacts on the music world. They were both incredibly talented and commanded respect for their own rights. Their feud, while intriguing, was just one part of their legacies. Both women overcame personal struggles and used their voices to inspire millions. But Aretha Franklin wasn't just known for her feud with Tina Turner. She had other notable rivalries in the industry as well. Most iconic feuds and unapologetic moments. Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, was known for her incredible voice and powerful presence. But she also had some legendary feuds and moments with other celebrities. Let's dive into a few of these unforgettable instances. For example, the cold shoulder to Patti LaBelle. In 2014, at the White House's Women of Soul celebration, Franklin had a moment that went viral. Introduced by Melissa Etheridge, Franklin walked through the audience with her usual flair. As she passed fellow soul legend Patti LaBelle, Patti reached out to grab her arm. Franklin dodged her touch in one smooth move and kept on walking, leaving LaBelle hanging. This cold-as-ice maneuver became an instant viral moment. The exact reason for the tension between them isn't clear, but Franklin made her feelings known with that single gesture. Then there's the diva battle with Celine Dion. At the 1998 VH1 Divas live TV special, Franklin and Celine Dion were part of a group of powerhouse female singers performing You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. Franklin, known for taking control of any stage she stepped on, had a hard time sharing the spotlight. When it was Dion's turn to sing, Franklin kept going, leading to an intense vocal showdown. Carole King, who wrote the song and was also on stage, witnessed the moment. She said, "Aretha was sort of taking over. It's the part where Celine is supposed to sing and Aretha's still singing." Dion, not one to back down, matched Franklin's energy, resulting in a memorable diva wail-off. Speaking of which, did you know about the shade towards Mariah Carey? In an interview, Franklin was asked about TV talent shows. She commented that she didn't see any major singers judging these shows. The interviewer mentioned Mariah Carey's role as a judge on American Idol and her $18 million salary. Franklin's response was classic shade. She questioned the legitimacy of Carey's salary, hinting that it might be exaggerated or influenced by her husband. It was a subtle but clear dig at Carey. Then there were the sly jabs at Wendy Williams. Back in 2011, Franklin sat down for an interview with Wendy Williams. Known for her bold questions, Williams tried to step into Franklin's personal life. At one point, Williams suggested that Franklin might still fall in love and get stupid like other women. Franklin's response was sharp and witty. She said, "Do you think I'm gullible? Yeah. No, I'm not gullible. You get stupid. I'm not going to be stupid anymore." It was a light-hearted but firm way of shutting down the line of questioning, which reminds us of the rivalry with Mavis Staples. Mavis Staples was one of the few singers who could match Franklin's vocal power. They collaborated on Franklin's album One Lord, One Faith, One Baptism in 1987. The voice of Staples was said to have made Aretha feel intimidated, as stated by Franklin's sister Irma. Franklin was of the opinion that Staples' voice was more prominent than hers when they sang duets together, as stated by several accounts. She blended Staples' vocals so low that they were scarcely heard in order to cope with the situation. A serious disagreement between the two gospel greats was brought about as a result of this. Even though Irma had assured Franklin that their voices were complementary to one another, Franklin was unable to overcome her feelings of uncertainty. These anecdotes demonstrate that Franklin was more than simply a famous musician. Additionally, she has a powerful personality and was not afraid to engage in dispute. The encounters that Franklin had, whether they were subtle dodges, verbal skirmishes, or cutting retorts, put her in the forefront and demonstrated the formidable character that she possessed. Among the many reasons why Aretha Franklin continues to be a figure in music history that will be remembered forever. These instances are just a few examples. Beyond the realm of music, there is a dispute with Dionne Warwick. Aretha Franklin and Dionne Warwick, two of the most legendary vocalists in the history of music, were never able to completely agree with one another. Franklin did not have many pleasant words to say about Warwick, particularly in her latter years, despite the fact that they had achieved similar levels of accomplishment in the history of music. The conflict that existed between these two great divas was not something that transpired just recently. Decades have passed since it had been smoldering. However, things reached a boiling point in 2017, when Franklin publicly addressed statements that Warwick had made at the funeral of Whitney Houston 5 years previously. At the funeral, Warwick gave a speech in which he said that Franklin was Whitney Houston's godmother. This declaration served as the spark that restarted their bitter enmity. Franklin was unable to attend the ceremony owing to health difficulties. Nonetheless, Warwick's statement did not sit well with her. Franklin was upset by the comment. In a phone conversation conducted in 2017, Franklin accused Warwick of lying and called her out on her behavior. It was her assertion that she had lied to me in a flagrant manner, completely aware of what she was doing. There was a notion that Warwick's statements stirred up needless drama, which looked to be the source of Franklin's annoyance. This view seemed to derive from the fact that the assertion was incorrect. It was not the first time that Franklin and Warwick had come into conflict with one another. The competition between them stretches back to the 1960s, when both of them were just beginning their careers as vocalists. The song, I Say a Little Prayer, which was published by Dionne Warwick in 1967, went on to become a successful single. At the very beginning of the next year, Franklin published her rendition of the song, which likewise became quite successful. Considering that Cissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother, and Warwick's aunt were included on background vocals in Franklin's rendition of the song, some people interpreted this as Franklin's attempt to demonstrate her power over the situation. Despite the fact that both versions were cherished by fans, this decision may have been interpreted as Franklin attempting to outdo Warwick in terms of popularity. The fact that both Franklin and Warwick were contracted to the same record company, Arista, during the late 1970s added fuel to the fire regarding their relationship. One of the most influential people in the music industry, Clive Davis, was the one who signed both of these performers. On the other hand, it was stated that Franklin became Davis's favorite, which may have contributed to some friction that could not be resolved. In order to further complicate matters, Whitney Houston, who is Warwick's cousin, joined Arista at a later time, thus tangling their business lives. The drama that occurred during Whitney Houston's burial in 2012 added even another dimension to an already difficult relationship. This was the moment when the drama occurred. In an attempt to make sense of Franklin's absence, Warwick made the remark that Franklin was Whitney's godmother. As Franklin explained in a later statement, this was not the case. Franklin, on the other hand, made the decision not to address the matter right away, probably in order to avoid adding additional controversy to a period that was already fraught with turmoil. It is clear that she was more concerned with providing support to Cissy Houston and her family than she was with becoming involved in public conflicts, since she did express her sympathies to them. In 2017, however, Franklin was unable to maintain his silence any longer. It was then that she confronted Warwick, condemning her comments as defamatory and accused her of intentionally distributing false information. Franklin stressed that she had never been close with Warwick, adding, "We've never been friends, and I don't think that Dion has ever liked me." Franklin did not believe that Dion had ever liked her. This open and honest revelation brought to light the long-standing tension that existed between the two. On the other hand, Warwick made the decision to refrain from immediately responding to Franklin's allegations. It was said by her agent that Warwick would not address Franklin's remarks in a manner that would be considered dignified. In spite of the public back and forth, Warwick kept a professional approach, which prevented the conflict from becoming even more heated. After Franklin's demise in 2018, it is interesting to see that Warwick talked warmly of her. Despite the fact that they had disputes, she made the announcement in a statement, saying, "Our Heavenly Father has selected one of our most prolific voices to join his heavenly choir. Aretha has died and is finally at peace." In addition to expressing her sympathies to Franklin's family, Warwick highlighted the significant effect that Franklin had on the world of music. Despite the fact that their personal relationship had been strained, this gesture demonstrated that there was a level of respect for Franklin's legacy. It was impossible to deny the tension that existed between them, despite the fact that they had worked together in the past and respected each other's abilities. A collision of two powerful personalities, each with their own set of ideals and pride, was the result of this conflict. Despite the fact that the audience may have found their disagreements to be entertaining, it is undeniable that both women have left legacies that will be remembered for centuries to come. Demanding respect and protecting her crown, both women have had a tremendous effect on the music business. Another conflict has been added to the list, this time between Luther Vandross and Natalie Cole. Just when you thought these were enough, the list continues. The collaboration between Aretha Franklin and Luther Vandross for Aretha Franklin's comeback album Jump to It, which was released in 1982, was not without their share of difficulties. Vandross, who is a profound admirer of Franklin, was thrilled to collaborate with her. Their initial phone contact, on the other hand, was surprisingly full of formality. Vandross was addressed as Mr. Vandross by Franklin, who presented herself as Miss Franklin throughout the conversation. This was not the friendly and down-to-earth Aretha that he had anticipated. The Aretha that Vandross heard on the phone was not the same as the one that he grew up listening to on the radio. According to Vandross's subsequent statement to the biographer David Ritz, into the recording studio, the tension that had been building between them remained. It was Vandross's intention to provide Franklin some advice on how she ought to sing, but Franklin was not willing to receive criticism on her singing. Franklin expressed her point of view in her autobiography, which was titled Aretha, From These Roots. In spite of the fact that I was the one from whom Luther had learnt a great deal about singing, he wanted to teach me how to sing. My message was straightforward. The question is why he didn't sing it personally if he intended to instruct the musician on how to perform the song. Vandross was able to maintain his position in spite of the controversies which occurred. Franklin posed the question, who is the one with the most hits here? As they were having a disagreement about the introduction to Jump to It, implying that she is the most powerful person in the music industry. As a response, Vandross said, "But who is the one who has the most recent hit?" This question appeared to strike a chord with Franklin, and he abruptly left the conversation in order to put a stop to it. In spite of these disagreements, the two individuals maintained a mutual regard for the abilities of the other. This was something that Franklin recognized in her book, when she stated, "We have a great deal of mutual respect for each other. When we are not conversing with one another, we are still cool." The cornerstone of their working partnership was founded on a mutual respect for each other's artistic abilities, despite the fact that it was not without its share of difficulties. Is it possible to say the same thing about Natalie Cole? In a big way, Natalie Cole, who is the daughter of the legendary jazz musician Nat King Cole, made her debut in the music industry. The songs that she initially became famous for were originally performed by Aretha Franklin. In a short amount of time, the media started drawing parallels between Cole and Franklin, and many even speculated that Cole may perhaps become the Queen of Soul. Cole had a cold reception when she first saw the Queen of Soul in person, despite the fact that she had a great deal of respect for Franklin. While attending a luncheon for the business, Cole approached Franklin, but she gave her a cold look before turning her back on her. After some time had passed, Cole recalls, "It took me weeks to recover, so she is the woman who I hold in the highest regard. She started this fictitious conflict, which I am still unable to comprehend for some reason. I have always honored her with the utmost respect, both then and today. The continuous parallels to Cole, on the other hand, were not something that Franklin was very pleased with. Franklin addressed the matter in an interview that he gave to Jet magazine in 1977. He stated, "It's easy for a singer to sometimes pick up on another singer's sound, but that's just copying. The fact that she sounds like me on some of her tracks is a really flattering remark. In fact, when I listen to her, I notice minute details that bring back memories of myself when I was just starting out in my professional life. Not only do I believe that she does not possess the capability or the equipment to steal anything from me, but I would also say it to Natalie herself. Franklin's strong personality and her insistence on being appreciated for her contributions to music are highlights that are brought to light by these specific incidents. Franklin's interactions with Vandross and Cole demonstrate that she was always cognizant of her position as the Queen of Soul and was not hesitant to protect her crown. Whether it was a misunderstanding or a collision of egos, Franklin's interactions with Vandross and Cole took place. These are the notable remarks that Aretha Franklin made about contemporary pop stars. Despite the fact that the legendary Aretha was renowned for being ferocious and fiery, she also had a side to her that allowed people to enjoy seeing her in her natural state. Aretha Franklin's honest statements regarding modern pop musicians transformed a seemingly regular interview with the Wall Street Journal into a viral hit in 2014. This was due to the fact that Franklin made the comments. The writer inquired about the Queen of Soul's opinions on a variety of female musicians, and the Queen of Soul's comments were anything from typical. Upon being questioned about Adele, Franklin expressed his approval by only remarking that she is a fantastic vocalist. Not only did she acknowledge Whitney Houston's innate skill, but she also acknowledged that she possessed a gift. Her appreciation for Whitney Houston was simply plain. An amusing turn of events occurred when she shared her opinions about Taylor Swift in the comments. A pretty tepid, magnificent dress, gorgeous gowns was what Franklin presented after a lengthy lull in the conversation. It didn't take long for this remark to become a meme, with people using phrases like great gowns and beautiful gowns to indicate praise that is courteous but not very warm. It is the same as saying something pleasant, but it is obvious that you are not excited. On the other hand, Franklin's response to Nicki Minaj was even more straightforward. After the reporter brought up Minaj, Franklin did not even attempt to sugarcoat her emotions about the situation. The only thing she said was, "I'm going to pass on that one." It was a glaring indication that she was not interested in talking about Minaj, and it turned out to be yet another moment that stood out from the interview conversation. All of these statements became famous due to the fact that they were straightforward and a little bit cheeky, regardless of whether you liked them or laughed at them. An uncensored version of her personality was shown through her remarks, which provided the internet with a novel approach to handling unwanted compliments. The Franklin sisters' rivalry and opposition. Not only did Aretha Franklin find herself in conflict with her own sisters about professional possibilities, but she also found herself in conflict with other members of the business. Irma and Carolyn Franklin, Aretha Franklin's sisters, were also exceptionally excellent vocalists. This is something you should know. The Franklin family's music ministry, which was directed by their father, C.L. Franklin, was where they spent their childhood. While the sisters frequently collaborated with Aretha, each of them pursued their own musical goals and had significant milestones in their careers. On the other hand, Aretha's actions occasionally obscured the prospects that were before them. For instance, in 1976, Curtis Mayfield offered Carolyn the opportunity to contribute a song to the soundtrack of the film Sparkle. However, when Aretha Mayfield learned about the opportunity, she took over the project. Irma Franklin admitted that she should have let Carolyn perform those Sparkle songs, and then she should have followed up by working with Curtis on her own record. Nevertheless, Aretha was able to acquire a copy of the tunes. Due to the fact that they were so excellent, she felt compelled to sing them. Irma also related a story of an event that occurred during her own career as a musician. It was quite exciting for her to consider the potential of getting a contract with Epic, which is Columbia's sibling label. This would have made it possible for her to collaborate with a variety of producers, and for her to develop her own distinct character apart from Aretha. Upon hearing the news that I would be appearing on Epic, I assumed that Aretha would be overjoyed, but she was not. Irma stated that she had a fit of rage. Having too many Franklin sisters in the spotlight, Aretha Franklin feared, would cause confusion among the general audience and would be detrimental to her own career. Aretha's objective was to preserve her position, which frequently required her to prioritize her own interests above those of her sister. Despite the fact that they had a common skill and a strong familial relationship, Aretha's actions occasionally prevented them from achieving their goals. These instances shed light on the intricate relationships that exist within a family, particularly when all members are employed in the same field. Aretha Franklin's latter years, in addition to her legacy, health challenges, and tributes, Aretha Franklin continued to be a well-known and influential presence in the world of music even as the 20th century came to a conclusion. Following the publication of her autobiography, titled Aretha from These Roots, she gave a performance at the inauguration gala of President Bill Clinton in the year 1993. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George W. Bush 10 years later in recognition of the legendary contributions she had made to the field of music. Franklin, on the other hand, encountered significant health difficulties over the latter 10 years of her life. The fact that she had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer was something that she chose to keep a secret for a period of time. The public scrutiny of her weight, which fluctuates owing to medication, added to the difficulties she was already experiencing with her health. Franklin's enthusiasm for music never diminished, whatever the circumstances. The publication Rolling Stone claims that she maintained her competitive and creative spirit right up until the very end, constantly keeping herself abreast of the latest music trends and up-and-coming performers. Although Franklin continued to arrange shows, many of them were ultimately canceled owing to the fact that her health was deteriorating. She made the announcement in 2017 that she would be retiring from touring, but with the intention of continuing to make new songs. On November 7, 2017, she gave her last performance in front of an audience. It is with great regret that we announce Franklin's passing on August 16, 2018, due to advanced pancreatic cancer. Some of her followers were perplexed as to why she had not left a will, despite the fact that she was aware of her body's declining condition when she passed away. The publication Rolling Stone speculated that Franklin may have never really grasped the concept of her own mortality. However, her presence and impact continue to be consistent across time. Fans paid tribute to Franklin in a variety of different ways after she passed away. In New York City, they erected unauthorized tributes to two subway stations, Franklin Street in Manhattan and Franklin Avenue in Brooklyn. Both of these stations are located in Manhattan. Despite the fact that these memorials were removed, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority paid homage to her by placing permanent respect stickers in black and white at the stops. At the American Music Awards, which took place on October 9, 2018, a special homage was presented to Franklin. Gospel songs were played by Gladys Knight, Donnie McClurkin, Ladisi, Ceci Winans, and Mary Mary. Some of the songs performed were successes from Ben Franklin's album Amazing Grace, which was released in 1972. At the Sydney Opera House, a musical with the title Aretha, which was a love letter to the Queen of Soul, was presented for the first time in June of 2023. The program, which was directed and narrated by Jada Alberts, an Australian, included a superb cast and commemorated Franklin's legacy via music and performance, known not just for her magnificent voice and contributions to music, but also for her fiery personality, famous feuds, and unvarnished statements. Aretha Franklin will forever be recognized as the Queen of Soul. Her legacy will go on forever. What do you think about Aretha Franklin's confession? Does it change your perception of the Queen of Soul? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from the world of music and entertainment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.